This might sound like science fiction, but it's the real idea behind a platform called Anima. Its whole purpose is to map out our inner world, not by asking us questions, but by analyzing the one thing we can't really control, our attention. So how on earth does it work? Well, Anima uses the webcam you already have on your computer, plus some pretty clever AI, to track your unconscious eye movements. By seeing where your eyes automatically go when you're shown different images, it starts to piece together the hidden mental habits that might be holding you back.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this actually works, because the process itself is a surprisingly simple and pretty powerful loop that, anyone can do right from their own computer.
The whole thing is really just 4 simple steps. First, you take this visual test on your computer. Then the AI gets to work, analyzing your unconscious gaze patterns. After that, you get personalized insights and advice based on what it finds. And the cool part is you can repeat the test over time to actually track your progress and see how your focus is changing. All right, so what is this test really looking for? It's not just random. It's specifically designed to measure 4 well-researched types of what psychologists call attentional bias. In the simplest terms, think of it like your brain's default filter for reality. It's what your mind automatically, and I mean instinctively, zooms in on and what it just tunes out, all without you even realizing it's happening. So the first bias Anima looks for is something called avoidance. This is basically your mind's instinct to look away from things that make it uncomfortable or anxious. Whether that's a scary image in a test or that difficult email sitting in your inbox. And this is where a simple habit like looking away can snowball into huge real-world challenges. That unconscious urge to avoid threats, well, that can show up as procrastinating on big projects, avoiding tough but necessary conversations, or maybe resisting the kind of feedback you actually need to grow. Now, on the complete flip side of avoiding threats is the tendency to obsessively look for them. This is called hypervigilance. It's when your attention is constantly scanning for danger, kind of like a smoke detector that is just stuck on the highest, most sensitive setting. And as you can imagine, being constantly on alert like that, it's just exhausting. It completely drains your mental energy and can lead straight to burnout. It also means you might overreact to tiny problems, which can create a ton of tension and affect your judgment and your relationships. Okay, so those first 2 biases were all about how we handle threats. These next 2 are about how we process emotions. The third one is dysphoric bias, and this is when your attention basically acts like a magnet for all things negative. Out of all the information out there, your gaze is unconsciously pulled to the one sad face in a crowd, or the single critical comment in a sea of praise. And the crucial thing to get here is that this bias can literally color your entire perception of reality. It can chip away at your self-esteem, push you toward pessimistic decisions, and just make it really hard to appreciate any of your successes. It can absolutely hold you back. And just like some minds are drawn to the negative, others have a really hard time even noticing the positive. This brings us to the last bias Anima measures, anhedonic bias. It's the tendency to overlook, to ignore, or to just divert your attention away from positive, rewarding information. It's almost like the good news doesn't even register. And being able to see the good, that's absolutely critical. I mean, if your brain is wired to ignore positive feedback and your own achievements, it can just completely sap your motivation, kill your creativity, and make it incredibly difficult to lead or inspire anyone else. Okay, so let's get into the science of it all, because this tech isn't just some clever idea that popped up overnight. No, it's actually grounded in decades of really solid neuropsychological research. And this right here, this is the bedrock of the entire Anima platform. The core idea, which is backed up by tons of scientific literature, is that these tiny split-second movements our eyes make are one of the most accurate signs of our underlying mental state. They're a biomarker. See, Anima isn't just starting from scratch. Its whole engine is built on top of highly respected psychological models. For example, it uses principles from Beck's model of depression, which links negative thought patterns to depression, and the RDOC framework, which looks at brain circuits to understand mental health. It's really blending classic psychology with modern neuroscience. So why does any of this matter, right? Why go to all the trouble of measuring these tiny little biases? Well, because understanding these hidden patterns is always the first essential step to actually changing them.
At the end of the day, the goal here is to give you direct access to your own mind's settings. By seeing where your attention automatically goes, you suddenly have the power to consciously redirect it. And that's how you can start to build a healthier internal balance and, really, unlock your true potential. Ultimately, a tool like this leaves us with a pretty powerful question. It's one thing to think we know ourselves, but it's a completely different thing to actually see where our minds unconsciously take us. So, what do you think you'd discover if you really looked?